The first Sabbath principle is that it is fitting for one day in 7 to be appointed a day set aside for worship. We see it clearly in the New Testament and in the early church. Though they understand the Sabbath, as Warfield said, was buried in the grave with Christ, what rose forth was the Lord's Day. And so we find that the Christians are gathering together. It's still their habit, inherited from the Jewish tradition, now on the first day of the week instead of the 7th, to gather for worship. Do you make corporate worship a priority? You're here this morning, so you're going, whew, yes, I'm here on the Sabbath sermon. Do you feel the need to celebrate the Lord's resurrection with your brothers and sisters? I hope so. I dare say that the discipline of corporate worship is even more important than the discipline of private worship, though certainly we want to do that as well. Perhaps even more strikingly, and this is where it even hits my own heart, do we think of Sunday as climax or collapse? I think it's often collapse. Friday is climax. Saturday, yes. Sunday is, Monday's right around the corner. I'm so tired from everything that happened yesterday. And why do we live in the Eastern time zone? All these games are on so late. And Sunday becomes a day of collapse. We must prepare accordingly to worship. Now look, the Sundays that I have off from preaching, they're sometimes more work than the Sundays I'm on preaching, because then instead of preaching to several hundred people, I have a few children that I need to get here with my wife. How she does it every week, I don't know. So I understand it's hard with families, with kids, to feel like the day is completely restful, and yet we must prepare accordingly, be thinking about our week, about our Friday, about our Saturday, about the time we go to bed and when we get up, so that this is a day of great climax as we celebrate the resurrection, not a day of collapse. Is it wrong to watch football on Sunday? I don't see how you could say it is from Romans 14 and Colossians 2. But is it wrong, unwise, to make the focal point of Resurrection Sunday the watching of football, the playing of soccer? I think certainly it is. Now, if Romans and Colossians tell us not to judge one another, yet there is a principle here. If this is the one day in a week where we gather together for corporate worship, it ought to have some sense of priority. Are we teaching our kids that Sunday is the day we go to church, or Sunday is the day we try to squeeze in church? You'll have to wrestle with this, because the world around us doesn't understand this at all. It used to be you could go to places and everything would shut down. When we were in, Orange City, Iowa, and it's still probably like this. Everything shut down. I think they would have turned off the traffic lights if they could. Everything shut down. You hear a lawnmower going, scandalous. It just shut down. It was nice that the world around you helped you to honor this day. That's not the world that we inhabit here. Stuff's not going to stop on Sunday, except for Chick-fil-A. So you'll have to wrestle with it and come to some conclusions. But I think this is an important question. Is there a more important habit you can ingrain in your children than the regular, virtually immovable pattern of gathering with God's people for worship every Sunday?